Right, and now we have Brady Heslip joining us inside the minor lounge. Brady, of course, a legendary Baylor basketball player from back in the day, 2011 to 2014. Brady, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here talking with you, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, carving out some time in your busy schedule. I know that you've been doing a lot as as you've been transitioning away from basketball and everything like that. But the Baylor Bears are as hot as ever. So I'll just jump right into it. They're in the Sweet 16. How much Baylor basketball have you been able to watch this year? I know you've been extremely busy, and what do you think about their run on the Big 12 championship and now trying to get to the Final Four?
Yeah, that's it's fun for me to talk about the Bears, and especially this year. Prior to this year, I was playing in Europe, and for the 6 years prior to that. So for me, watching Baylor games at that time was a little bit difficult, just given the time change. So this year has been a luxury for me, being in the same time zone and being able to tune into the games. This year I've watched quite a few games. I would say the majority of them. I was a little bit disappointed when that COVID break happened, because I was in a nice routine of catching every game there.
Sure.
But yeah, it's fun watching these guys, and I actually came back and worked out with a bunch of guys. I think it was 2 years, maybe 3 years ago now. So I got to work out with the three guards. Mark was there, Matthew was there, some guys on this team. So, I'm just glad that I went back that time. So I got to know these guys, and, what a great group of guys. So it's fun for me to watch them and watch those guys be so successful this year. So it's been awesome to watch, and, it's just fun.
Yeah. So you were fortunate enough to go back there and get a workout in a few years back. I guess that's when maybe Davion and Maceo were sitting out due to the transfer rule then
Yeah.
at that point, and some of the other guys, maybe Jared and Matt, were freshmen, and then Mark's been there for forever, right? It seems. That's awesome. So what struck out to you during your workout, during your time there, playing with those guys?
What stuck out to me the most is I think I went for 3 days. And I'm used to working hard. When I was there, I would always get, workouts in before practice or in the mornings. And, I came back, and those guys wanted to work out every day. And there was like, this time I'm not a player. I'm not on the team. I'm going back to Europe. And there's like, 6 guys that want to work out. So I was doing like 4 workouts a day with these guys, just, kind of going through the routines that I would do and the workouts that we would do. So, what really stuck out to me was that they were a group of guys that wanted to get better, and they really wanted to work hard. And, my personal view is there's no substitute for that. If you have a team of guys that really want to work and, push each other to get better and compete from a work ethic perspective, you see what happens this year. The team's playing unbelievable. All the work those guys put in is now showing. So it's fun for me to watch, and I was really grateful that I got to hang out with them for a few days.
Yeah. So were they mostly individual workouts then, or did you get any scrimmages in going?
Yeah,
What it looked like?
mostly individual workouts, but we scrimmaged at night. Um, you know, Tall T Terrence was there, and I think Tweety was there, and a few other former guys. Ish was around, so yeah, it was just fun seeing all those guys again.
Yeah. No kidding. That's like one of those dream team type practices that no one ever hears about, but you wonder what it would be like on the inside with all those Baylor legends coming back, and the team that's still a few years away from the big time, quote unquote, and to be there then certainly seems like it would have been cool, for sure. That's quite an experience. Do you feel like you passed off any crucial wisdom to some of those guys, especially the guards? Everybody's hot shooting the ball this year, like over 40%, 5 guys. So you must have said something.
Yeah, I don't know if I can take any credit for that, but what I did communicate them, and what I tell anybody, any Baylor player who's just aspiring to get better, is there's no substitute for working hard. You have all the opportunities, you have all the resources you need. You got a gym to yourself anytime you want. You got the best strength coach in the country. You got, unbelievable coaching staff. So if you want to get better, it's really up to you. And I think that was my message to them. And, just from, my previous example, I think those guys really, really wanted to work. So, it's awesome for me to see them now, in this position, and they're all successful, and they're all going to be successful at the next level. And, it seems like they're playing that way. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it certainly paid off this year. It made obviously quite a run. There was the COVID interruption and pause that was definitely unfortunate. A lot of teams across college basketball had to deal with that. I guess was that weird, kind of watching college basketball this season, where there are different interruptions and games were being canceled and schedules changed. I mean, Baylor was supposed to play out on the East Coast, and then they had to cancel those games and fly to Vegas, and then obviously their pause. Was that weird at all for you this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year has been a learning experience for everybody. It was really unfortunate what happened last year, that the tournament got canceled, especially because they were having such a great year. But for me, I think everybody kind of just takes it in stride, right? And I think the most disappointed point in the season for me was when I think I was actually still in school, and I was so ready for the Gonzaga game. And then the game got canceled, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was so disappointed because I think Baylor was going to win. And that was strange. And then, but the other teams, like I know Duke had a bunch of games canceled, and they, didn't play until the conference season started. And I really like watching Baylor. I follow the Big 12 because it's interesting, and I think it's a great conference. But yeah, I mean, I think it was strange, but at the same time, I think, if this year's taught us anything, it's just kind of got to roll with the punches.
Absolutely, and if this year's taught us anything else, it's that anything can happen. And that's kind of what happened in the tournament just this past weekend. That every single Big 12 team won basically on the first day, and then Texas lost late into that into the early morning of day 2, right? And the only Big 12 team to lose in the first round, and then a bunch of other Big 12 teams lost in the second round, so they couldn't get over that hump to the second weekend. What kind of stood out to you in the NCAA tournament so far? Did you make a bracket? Did you have expectations going in, or what were you kind of
thinking? I made a bracket. I think it's fun to do that now. Watching as a fan, as a proud Baylor alumni, it's fun for me. I've always loved March Madness. As a kid, I dreamed of playing in it. Thanks to Baylor, I got that opportunity, and Coach Drew. And now for me, it's just fun to watch and root for them. So I have Baylor winning it all, of course, and I'm still, have strong belief in that prediction. After the second day, I think I was like in the 99th percentile. Like I had, only a few games wrong. Of course, I had my guy Mills winning the game, and Coach Mack at UNT. So I was really happy for those guys. I think, watching the Bears win and handle business like they should was great on day one. And then seeing those guys who, had a big impact on my playing career win those games as head coaches, that was pretty special. I was just really happy for those guys. What else stood out? I mean, I watched, pretty much all day, every day on the entire time. So there was just a lot of great games, and even filling out a bracket, and I get a game wrong. I had Iowa going pretty far, actually. So I was a little bit surprised at that Oregon upset, but I find myself, regardless of the bracket, rooting for these long shots.
Sure.
So it was kind of crazy, and yeah, like you said, these teams go down, and Illinois going down. So yeah, I think the tournament is the real deal. It shows who are the best teams, and in my opinion, is the best tournament in sports because it means so much. As your college career is on the line. If you lose one game, it's over. Season's over. College career might be over. So it's important, and it's fun, and it's cool for all the guys who are playing in it.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of experience in the postseason tournaments, and I wanted to ask you about that. It's interesting, kind of the games that you pointed out, because you had some upsets, you had some, just some, obviously Baylor advanced. I was at that North Texas Villanova game in the second round. That was definitely unfortunate for the Mean Green to go down like that, but they definitely had a good run. When you look back and reflect, what do you kind of recall from? Let's start with that 2012 tournament where you guys went to the Elite Eight and you came out red hot in the first two rounds against South Dakota State and Colorado. It just seemed like you couldn't miss, and then you guys kept that momentum going before you met Kentucky. But started that first weekend, what about being a player, in that first weekend of the tournament where so many games are happening, so much buzz and electricity? What is that like?
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, it's one of my favorite memories of my entire career. We're in Albuquerque, and just like you said, there's a buzz about it, and the pit is a pretty crazy, cool arena, and it was loud. I had a coach when I was young, and he told me that big time players always step up in big time games. So, going into my first NCAA tournament, that was kind of just my mentality that I need to step up here. And fortunate for me, we had a great team. So they made it pretty easy for me, and I just had to make a bunch of shots. But I think the biggest thing that hits you is that if you lose a game, the season's over. And when you have a bunch of guys that are competitive and that want to win, I think that's a dangerous combination. And for us that year, it was, we were a great team. I think we started the season 17-0, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I mean, it's the tournament. That's all you really need to say. You gotta win. And, we were on a great run, and just kind of unfortunate the way things work out, and running into the eventual national champions, who had a pretty solid center that year, who gave us a couple issues on the offensive end. But you know what? It was just incredible, and fun to share it with those guys and those coaches. And I think that everybody who was a part of that team looks back on it, with fond memories that we went to the Elite Eight.
It's really interesting, because I think that team, that season, has a lot of interesting parallels to this current team, because like you said, you started 17-0. I think this team started 22-0. And then, COVID notwithstanding, but then you go to the tournament, and, you yourself transferred in from Boston College. It's your first NCAA tournament. It's a bunch of first NCAA tournaments for, Teague, Mitchell, Meyer. No, wait a second. Maybe not Meyer, but he's getting major minutes this time around. And then, of course, on top of that, the 2020 tournament was canceled. I don't know. I just find it interesting with a lot of different parallels. But as a transfer entering your first tournament, what was your mindset? You're a shooter. What was that like? And did you kind of see similarities in the play of Teague and Mitchell specifically as they kind of entered their first tournament here?
Yeah, I think it's hard to articulate, but I think that when you dream of playing in in Division I, and for me playing in the States, being from Canada, you dream of playing in the tournament. So having that opportunity, I think the mentality is you don't want to waste it. You don't want to just play one game. You want to play as many as you can. However that ends up working out. I think for these guys are awesome, man. They're going to be pros, and they're doing everything. They're stepping up. They've had 2 great games already, so I don't think there's any nerves or anything like that there. And if there was, then they definitely got it out of the system. I think it's just that first maybe 5 minutes of the first game that you're like, okay, this is it. It's you might get a little winded right off the bat or something, but clearly they settle in, and they've been handling business, and it's just it's been fun to watch, and I'm proud of those guys.
Yeah. Was there a point, obviously you started 17-0 that year, was there a point in the season where you look around and say, this, we have a good team here? Like maybe after a certain game or after a certain practice, was there ever at that point for maybe you and a couple other guys, or just the team as a whole?
Yeah. I think the whole belief going in, right? I mean, the year before, I don't think we made the tournament. And we were just coming in with a different mentality. We had AC, who was a great leader, and he was, the heart and soul, and he was a dog, and AJ Walton was a dog, and Pierre coming in, and Perry Jones and Quincy, and we just had a fantastic team. So, I think our first, if I remember correctly, our first loss was to Kansas, and it was on a big Monday, and
Yeah.
we didn't know what that felt like, so we were kind of like, how do you regroup from this? And to be honest with you, it would have been great to see this team, go undefeated and win it all. But I think that, taking that one loss, you really learn that, like, we do have weaknesses, we do have deficiencies, and now let's fix those. To let in that loss kind of crumble you, and then you let it compound into a bigger issue. So I think that was healthy.
Yeah.
And it showed us that we're not invincible, and we're 17-0 and we're getting all this attention, and you're a top 5 team and whatnot, but people are going to come in and they're going to come at your head, so you better be ready, especially if you're doing that. So I think that stuff is positive, if you just approach it the right way. But there was no one specific moment where I thought that the team was special. I think that just the whole year, we played great a lot of the time.
Sure. Yeah. Just as a quick aside, a story, I remember, talking to you at before one of your practices at the Farrell Center. I was at, one of the girls' practices, getting ready for their practice to begin. And it was like a Monday or Tuesday after you guys had gone to Evanston and played Northwestern, and you dominated them by 30 or something like that. Yeah. Like just an unholy, type performance. Just like how, obviously you guys were the better team. I think everybody expected you to win, but it's 30 points. You guys played out of your minds. And I just remember talking to you a little bit. I was so what was the key to that? And you're, how did you win by 30 points? That just seemed like an astronomical number, to me at the time. And you kind of just shrugged your shoulders, I don't know. We thought they were going to, they're pretty, you told me they're actually a really good team. We were surprised that we won by that much. And now I was all right, this is going to be a good season.
Yeah, for sure. I remember that. It was fun. Yeah. I loved going on the road, especially with those guys. We had a kind of roadkill mentality, and we just wanted to go into other people's places and get wins. So I'm not sure if we spoiled anybody's senior night that time, but that was something that we took pride in, just winning on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And another place you went on the road was Kentucky, and of course you had the Elite Eight loss to Kentucky in March Madness, but then you had a couple other wins against Kentucky during the regular season. You guys won at Rupp, which I think broke a 55 or whatever game winning streak that Kentucky had at home. And then the next year you played them in Dallas, which was the ice storm game that nobody could get up to. There were probably a handful of 100 fans in the building. Did you feel like you guys developed a rivalry with Kentucky over that brief stretch where you just seemed to be playing them in really interesting, intricate settings? You have Elite Eight in Atlanta, Rupp Arena, historic there, and then a neutral, at Cowboys neutral site at Cowboys Stadium. Just really 3 bona fide sites to play, and 2 top caliber teams.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say that it was a rivalry from a season to season perspective, because they have so much turnover. They almost have a new starting lineup every year. So it's a little different than that. But I think what it was is, for those of us who were on the Elite Eight losing team, we just didn't like them. So we wanted to win every other chance we had to play them, right? Going into Rupp and winning, that was a great moment. That's a tough place to win. And, at the time there was no COVID. So it was a packed house. I'm not exact on the capacity there right now, but I think it's close to 20,000, and it was loud, and we went out of there with a win. And then, Cowboy Stadium was different, and they had a great team that year, and we beat them there too. So, I'm happy that we were able to avenge that and get, two wins on them, so that I could finish my career with a winning record against them.
Yeah, that's definitely something nobody will ever be able to take away from you. Absolutely. And in those two seasons, they're kind of, on opposite sides of the spectrum, right? The 2013 season, you guys missed the NCAA tournament, but won the NIT down the stretch. I think you're maybe a bubble team all along, and then 2014, you guys really turned it around mid-season to make this incredible run to even get to the NCAA tournament and then make the Sweet 16 with essentially the same group of guys each year, give or take a few players. But what do you remember being the difference between those two seasons, if any?
Yeah, making the tournament, not making the tournament sucked. I think, I'm not positive, but I think, we kind of went into the Big 12 tournament knowing that we had to at least go to the championship to get in. But then I think there was still a chance. Then we were one of the first teams in the NIT.
Yeah.
And as a player, okay, what are you going to do? It's out of your control, so you might as well focus on what you can. And that was getting ready for the next game. And that season was special in itself. We went to the NIT and we won the championship at Madison Square Garden. So,
yeah.
I think we turned a little bit of a negative into a positive there.
What was that run like? The NIT run, because I think it was a great run, and I honestly think the 2013 team was one of the better Baylor teams that it was. You just didn't, just one of the first four out or whatever it was of the dance. But what was that run like, and playing at the Garden and winning it all?
Yeah, it was great.
Sure.
I think the NIT is a little different because you're starting to get ready and play games at home, right? I think because we were a higher seed for, I'm pretty sure all of the games.
All of them, I think.
We played at the Farrell. So I guess that was, kind of nice to be able to stay in your own spot and play in your home gym and have your fans and everything. So that was definitely beneficial. And then, you get another trip out of it, and you get to go to New York and you get to play in the Garden, which is pretty cool. So, I think when we went there, we said, we're not going to New York just to play a couple of games. We're going to win a championship. And, Coach Drew really instilled that in us. And that was the goal from that point on. And, I don't know if you hang a banger for the NIT, but either way, we won, and we were one of the last teams to cut down the nets, and only a couple teams win their last game of the year, and we were one of them. So
yeah, and then the next year, I think you guys started like maybe 2-8 in Big 12 play, and then you went on a stretch. You won a bunch of games, and it really started with that. I guess you had a game against TCU where TCU was on a down year, and you're able to beat them and take that momentum back home, and you played Kansas State. And you find yourself with maybe now a 3-8 record, seconds left on the clock, down 3 to the Wildcats. You hadn't made a shot all game, I'm pretty sure. And, you get not one, not two, three, not you yourself, but the team, not one, not two, but 3 looks at the basket. And you hit a game-tying three-pointer to force overtime. And that was kind of the linchpin to turn the season around, the turning point that turned the season on its head. What does that moment mean for you, both when it happened and then looking back, as that was kind of a big momentum swing to get you guys back on course to an NCAA tournament?
I don't know if I can take credit for changing the momentum. But that's kind of you to say. I think my mentality is that we were going to get there one way or the other. It was my last year, and I wasn't going out without a fight. So, I think we were going to get there regardless, and we were going to turn it around at some point. We were just too good a team not to. I think it's always cool when you're playing in college basketball and you get to make a buzzer beater. I mean, that's just fun. So that's, I look back on that and think, that's a cool moment. It's, you get to hit a 3 and to extend the game, or if you miss, you lose. So those are the kind of moments that I enjoy when there's something on the line. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that season, clearly we didn't start out the conference play as we wanted to, but I think from that point on we really turned it around. Um, and you look back on that team and we had some serious players who are pretty
Yeah,
successful now. And so I think, when we had to play Nebraska in the first round and we dealt with them, I think, pretty well. And then Creighton was really hot that year. And, I don't even remember what the score was, but I think we beat them pretty bad as well.
30 or something.
Yeah. So, I think we just had a great team and we were going to find a way. It was just really special for me to play in an NCAA tournament again, because that's what I live for. And, we got to go to San Antonio. So we were just down the road, which was really fun, and, having fans there, and the whole experience was just great. And then, you never want to lose in the Sweet 16. It's tough, especially losing to Wisconsin. I'm so glad that they smashed Wisconsin. I don't like Wisconsin that much. But yeah, go to the Sweet 16, and I guess you got that, a benchmark again, right? It's nice to make this Sweet 16 is better than losing in a round of 32, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, it was tough way to end it, but they were good that year, and they played better than us that day. But yeah, great season, great memories with those guys and coaches.
When does in the NCAA tournament, when does the reality set in, that the other team's going to win and this is your last game, in a Baylor uniform? Like, when does that reality set in? How much time's left on the clock? Are there tears? Are you tearing up? What do you remember about that?
I don't remember, but I know that we, the starters at the time came out of the game. So I think, that was our indication that was it. And I just, I don't know why, but I remember, and I was sitting with Isaiah and Gary, and I think Isaiah was going to be done after that year anyways. And I just remember giving those guys a hug, man, telling them it was an honor to play with them, hugging all the coaches who believed in me and gave me an opportunity. Yeah, I mean, it's sad and it sucks. And as a competitor, you're just pissed and you wish you could kind of rewind the clock 2 hours and redo it and do a couple of things differently. But, that's the way life goes. And, I look back on it with positive memories. And at the end of the game, it's something you can't change, right? So, that's why you play the sport. There's only one team that can win. And just it happened to be them that day. And, I think from that point on, I just look back on my career as a whole and not just as one game, right? And then I think that there was a lot to be proud of and celebrate rather than dwell on.
Yeah, that really what stood out to me there was wishing you could rewind the clock back just 2 hours and try to do it over, replay things differently. What would be your advice to, this Baylor team that's in the Sweet 16 now? So that at the end of the game against Villanova, they're not wishing that they could rewind the clock back a couple hours.
Yeah, I sent those guys a video, so I don't know when they're going to see the message, but I sent them a video, and basically what I told them is that I was proud of all those guys, man, and I know that all the alumni are proud of them because they're representing, first and foremost a great university, but they're also, representing each other and they're representing God, and you hear those guys preach about it, and that's awesome. What I would tell them is the Sweet 16 matters more. They were able to handle business in the first 2 rounds, and they were supposed to. But now it gets serious, and you can see teams are getting upset, and now everybody who's left can really play. So, my advice was to use this week and refocus and sharpen up all the tools that they're going to need against Villanova. Not think that they're special because they won 2 games, because you got a few more to win. So really that was my message, is just to stay focused and stay grounded and, do everything that you need to do and be all about your business, to get ready for Saturday.
Sure. No, that's a great message. And speaking of messages, I was talking to John Hurd, had him on the other day, and he said that, the coaches were reaching out to him, saying like, hey, thanks for helping build the foundation to, that we won the Big 12 championship this year. And they even sent him a piece of the the championship net. I was just curious on, because they've been doing such a great job of highlighting past players and really thanking them through this whole run, this whole season. Um, you know, I'm curious who, if any, coaches kind of reached out to you. What messages did they have for you? Did you get a piece of the net? type, type
I
deal.
didn't get a piece of the net, but I got a nice new shirt, so I was excited about that. Coach Drew and I are really close, and we keep in touch quite frequently, and I text him after a great win. And he's been really helpful for me, just going through life as a graduate, because he's not just your coach. He's someone that that brought you there and really shaped you as a man. So I'm grateful for that relationship and for his guidance. He gave me some valuable input when I was trying to decide if I wanted to accept my current job. So I think that speaks volumes to the relationship, and I keep in touch with all of them, Coach Jacobs and Coach New. And I didn't get to play for Coach Brooks, but I know that he was I follow him on Twitter and everything. But when I went back, I got to see all those guys, and I keep up with them, man, and they're always great about reaching out. There's one grad assistant who's a kid from Mississauga here that I connected with them, and it's fun for me to be able to connect great people like that and see how his experience has been and how much he loves the university, just because I'm so passionate about it. So I think that that's really cool, and keep some Canadian connection in there, keep going through the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologize about that.
No worries.
Yeah, just had a couple more for you. One was a memory that I had. You weren't part of too many court stormings that I can remember at Baylor, but there was one. I'm not sure, what you remember about the Kansas game when you beat the Jayhawks in 2013, and there was a bit of a court storming. I think they were highly ranked. That's kind of like an iconic symbol of college basketball when that happens. Fans rush the court. Do you remember? I believe you had the ball, and dribbling out the clock, and I know I was definitely one of the first fans, there. On the court, so I was just curious, if you reflect on that, what that was like.
Yeah, that was awesome. Of course I remember that. Great game. It's always great when you can beat the Jayhawks. I think that was senior night.
It was.
So for AJ, it was a big deal. And senior night is a special time, and it's emotional for you when you're a senior. So, I think what I remember most about that is just feeling happy for him that he was able to get a historic win, on his senior night. And the court storming was just all fun, and it's great when the fans are, such a big part of it. And you guys were so supportive through the years, and we're glad that you rushed the court because it's fun for us, and everybody wants to have one of those moments. So for us, I think that was it. And I think, like you said, they were a top team, and we were on the verge. So it was not only an important win, but it was senior night. So yeah, man. I mean, just great memories, and what a fun time.
Yeah, I think it was Pierre Jackson's senior night as well, and I think I got on the court with still some seconds on the clock. If I remember correctly, I think I was right out there next to you, and you were like, "What? Why are you guys on the court? There's still time on the clock," type thing. But yeah, that was a great game in my memory bank of Baylor basketball. And now you're so you're back home in Burlington. You just completed your master's from Queens, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. But of course, in pursuing this path, you had to step away from basketball. At least professionally, that is. What was that, and what was that moment like? That decision-making, criteria look like for you? That where you ultimately said, I'm gonna stop playing professionally overseas, in the G League, and go down this this role and do this opportunity.
Yeah. I think for me, I felt very fortunate that I had such a great time and an amazing opportunity at Baylor. I think when I was leaving Baylor, there weren't a whole lot of people that, believed I would play at a high level. And, even before Baylor, until those guys gave me a chance. But I always believed in myself. And my first year out of school, I ended up getting a training camp contract with the Timberwolves after getting no workouts. So for me, it was always people wrong. And then I went to the D League and I led the league in scoring, and I had to go to Europe to make some money. And then, I signed a deal with the Raptors and ended up not making the team, but then playing in the G League and winning the championship. So that was kind of my second crack at the NBA. I have no regrets about that. I tried as hard as I could, and it's, a lot of right place, right time for someone like myself. So, I was happy with that. And, I was able to play in the top leagues in Europe and do really well and, make some good money. I think my thought process as I got older was, I wanted to give myself as many opportunities as I can to do, to do special stuff. And I think that if I were to play to the end and come back, I don't think I would have had the same opportunities that I have now, going back and getting my master's and, coming back at 36 or so. You might be a little bit too old to do that and kind of start a new career. So my view is that I proved myself and, I did pretty well. I tried my best at the NBA and I had no regrets. And I was curious. I've always been fascinated with a lot of different things, not just basketball. So going and doing my MBA was a great opportunity for me to, expand my understanding of business and finance and stuff that I was interested in that I really didn't have a chance to pursue, to that degree when basketball is all consuming. So,
Sure.
for me, it was an incredible opportunity. Because of my time with the national team, I ended up getting a scholarship. So that just worked out really well. And now it's a new chapter. I think, the way I look at it is, you got to do as much as you can in this life and try to learn as much as you can and have a positive impact on people. So, my mentality was to go back and start something new and start that journey. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. And it's different than playing hoops, but I still get in the gym and I can still play and I love watching the game as a fan. So it's all fun for me and I'm happy with where I'm at.
That's so great. It's great to hear all the success that you're having, even post basketball. But you had ample amount of success during your playing days as well, both collegiately and professionally. See a massive bookshelf behind you. I'm sure going getting your MBA comes with a lot of reading. Is there a favorite book that you have up there, or
these are my dad's old books and some of my mom's, but so I can't take credit for all of them, but it's a nice backdrop. One of my favorite books that I read when I was at Baylor was called Pistol. It was about Pete Maravich.
Okay.
From a sports perspective. And then recently I read a book called Think Again. And it's, I believe it's by Adam Grant, who's a professor at Princeton or Yale. And it's all about, dealing with what you don't know and understanding what you don't know. And, having the mindset of being willing to change your point of view when presented with different information. So that was a really interesting book and just an incredible way to think about knowledge and about how you can just expand, everything and understand and perceive things differently. Another great book that I read recently was called Range by David Epstein. And that's about how generalists, end up being more successful than people who specialize at a young age. So that was another great book that I've read recently.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's definitely an interesting concept, general versus specialization for sure. A lot of young high school athletes or even college athletes looking to be the next Brady Heslip or be the next MJ or LeBron. What kind of advice you definitely have range. What kind of advice would you try to pass on to them?
It's a hard question. I think everybody is unique, and I think that everybody's journey to get to where they want to get to is going to look a little bit different. But I think a few of the most important ingredients are, one, believing in yourself. and not being discouraged when other people don't. If you have a goal, stick with it to the very end. I think I'm a testament to that. I have a unique story of how I ended up getting to the States. I think the second key ingredient is just wanting to outwork everybody. So if you're in competition with, for example, on a basketball team, and there's only 15 spots, and there's 30 people who want it, you better be one of the 15 hardest workers. And I think to ensure that you're going to be a part of that team and do well, you want to be, the number one hardest worker. So, I think believing in yourself and working hard and being kind and respectful and all those important things are important. But those two for me have been pretty important in achieving different stuff.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said you had Baylor winning it all. Do you have them over the Zags, over Gonzaga?
No, I had them over Iowa, but Iowa lost, so screwed up my bracket. But
now it's anybody's game, right? Got it.
I would like to see them play Gonzaga because I want them to beat Gonzaga. I had a lot of buddies who played at Gonzaga, and they're all drinking the Kool-Aid. So I need them to go down. I don't like them, not right now, anyway. So, but I'm excited for these guys, man. I think it's going to be a great weekend, and they're I know they're making everybody proud.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brady, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on. First international guest, Brady Heslip, inside the Minor Lounge. Storied career at Baylor, G League champion, three-goggle originator, or one of the three-goggle originators. So definitely a big legacy that you have. So thank you so much, Brady. I'll let you give a plug if you want to shoot out anything.
Shout out to the Minor Lounge, man. Thanks for having me. It was great chatting with you and great reminiscing on the good days. And I'm waiting for Saturday at 5:15.
Absolutely. Sick and Bears. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.